Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, and we're also going to stick to my home county of Skåne here in the very south of the country, and we're returning to a brewery that has featured on the channel many times before. I must have done at least 25 reviews from this brewery, possibly nearer 30. I actually couldn't quite tell you. But for this one we are going to head a little bit northwest of me here in Lund to Helsingborg, very nice city actually, and we're having a taste of yet another beer from Brewski Mikrobryggeri. So this particular beer is called the Yellow Robot. It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and this one, from what I understand, is a New England hazy style IPA, which is a style that these guys are quite well known for. I did read on Untappd that this beer was supposed to have pineapple added into the brew, but it doesn't say that on the side here, so I guess we'll find out when we actually taste it. But yeah, this one is supposed to be part of the Fever series as well, or it's supposed to be like the Fever series that Brewski have done over the years, so fingers crossed it turns out to be another nice beer. And I do remember reviewing the Red Robot maybe about 2 years ago, which was a very nice one, so fingers crossed this one carries on in the same vein. But this beer was released as part of the Lokal Småskalig assortment for December of 2020 through Systembolaget here in Sweden. The other beers that were released, I think, were the Rhubarb Pie, and there was also the Vanilla Licorice Cake. So you'll see me review the Vanilla Licorice Cake. I didn't get the pie one this time because I wasn't sure about how the Rhubarb Pie would turn out actually, but maybe I'll think about getting that, we'll see. But yeah, these guys, as I say, probably the best known Skånsk craft brewery, the most widely distributed, I think it's fair to say. They're really well known for their Fever series, which is a series of fruit hazy IPAs that they did. Those you can still get those, although they're not quite they're not quite as readily distributed as they used to be. These days they seem to be focusing on the pie series, which is their Berliner Weisse series, which I would recommend you try. Triple berry pie, raspberry pie, strawberry pie, those were all very nice. The dragon fruit pie was interesting as well, and they've also got the cake series, which is their series of pastry stouts, and those are very good actually. I'm looking forward to trying my second one, as I said, a bit later in the month. But yeah, very well respected Swedish brewery, these guys, and probably the best known from Skåne here in the south of Sweden. My favourite beer that I've ever had from these guys was the Konen Double IPA, and I think they're yet to top that in my opinion actually, but they have done some very nice beers over the years, and I would highly recommend you try some of their stuff. So yeah, looking forward to trying this one as always from Brewski, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So let's see how we get on then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Brewski Mikrobryggeri before, and there will no doubt be more added to that list in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brewski Mikrobryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. So Brewski, as I've told you before, were founded back in 2014, and they're based in Helsingborg in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Lovely city, as I said. But the founders of this company are Marcus Hjalmarsson, Johan Britsen, Alfred Olsson and Robin Skoglund, and all of these guys were inspired to get into brewing their own craft beers, having tried the West Coast American beers, and their interest just evolved from there. So Marcus was originally associated with the High Nose brand of beer that was brewed at the Höganäs Brewery, and you still see some of those High Nose beers actually coming out of Höganäs Brewery, but not as much as you used to. But all of the Brewski beers are now produced at their own facility in Helsingborg. They were originally produced up at Höganäs, but the facility in Helsingborg to the south of the central station has a capacity to brew around 100,000 litres of beer per month, so pretty big operation these days. But in 2016 they also started their own beer festival, which is called Brewskival. In the first year they had over 40 different breweries, and it's continued to expand year on year. I first attended it in 2017, and I think there was about 60 breweries there at the time, and it is a really good beer festival. I'd highly recommend that you check it out. Actually one of the best in Scandinavia in my opinion, and you can check out my festival videos if you don't believe me. But these guys also used to open up their brewery once a month as a bar, which was called Brewski. That only lasted for a short period of time though, because they now have their own bar in Helsingborg which goes by the same name, and this opened back in 2018. But they also brew some beer in America at the Tampa Bay Brewing Company, mainly their IPAs, so that they can distribute their IPAs fresh across the continent over there. But at the moment they're also looking to open up a bar in Oslo, and Marcus has a distribution company up there which is called Brewski, and they import the Swedish beers into Norway as well. So there's been some really interesting activities from Brewski over the last little while, and I do look forward to seeing how the Brewski bar in Oslo gets on. Actually, I'd love to see them import some Norwegian beers into Sweden. Actually, I'd love us to get a few more kind of quirky Norwegian breweries beers down here. That would be awesome. So yeah, good luck to Brewski in their expansions in Norway for sure. But over 2019, these guys produced around 500,000 litres of beer in total, and as of December 2020, when I'm reviewing this one for you, they've produced in the region of 310 different kinds of beer, which is pretty impressive actually. Like I said, most well known for their Fever series, and then there's the Pie Berliner Weisse series, and also the Cake Pastry Stout series these days. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Brewski Mikrobryggeri for the moment. A very, very nice brewery and very well respected, I have to say. So yeah, I think this is one that you definitely can check out actually at some point, because you will, if you find a good beer shop across Europe, you probably will find some of the Brewski beers actually. So yeah, that's definitely one that I would recommend you try if you're interested in Swedish beer. But yeah, as I say, if you're interested in learning more, check out the brewery website, follow them on Facebook and Instagram, and you can check out the Rate Beer Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to see more about all those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one is typical of what you would expect from Brewski. I do have to admit, I like the kind of the sort of you know, the raw kind of sketch style of the art that these guys have, the sort of pencil drawings. I mean, you can see the detail in the shading and stuff like that there. I do think it is pretty cool. But yeah, like I said to you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.5% IPA. I'll just let you see the kind of data side of the beer there. So yeah, Yellow Robot IPA, 6.5% ABV, and there you can see the little Brewski man up there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think this beer cost me maybe about 35-40 Swedish kroners, so yeah, about €4, about $4.50, and yeah, like £3.25 or something like that, I guess, if we're translating it into different currencies. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. 330ml can, this one. So this should be very, very nice. I'm curious to see whether there is pineapple in this one. As I say, but yeah, I wonder what if they will make a little robot series of New England IPAs. That would be pretty cool. The other thing that Brewski had been doing recently, of course, were the nipple IPAs. And I have to say, the one that impressed me the most was the no nipple, the session IPA, and the single nipple. The nipple IPA was actually quite a good one as well, but it was the no nipple that really impressed me, to be honest with you. So yeah, as you can see with this one, and as you would expect from a New England IPA, this beer has poured a lovely kind of bright, rich yellow colour. I would describe this one as being kind of akin to a mango juice actually. Definitely more of a kind of mango juice colour, this one. I always like comparing the New England IPAs to fruit juices, of course, because that's just, you know, the appearance of them, that's really what they remind me of. But you can see that the beer poured with, I would say about a somewhere between a quarter and a third finger of a frothy white head there. That's faded away to just be a very thin foamy layer now, but there is a nice kind of foamy ring around the edge of the glass. You can see that the beer does have a good little bit of haze to it. For a 6.5%, the level of haze on this one is actually fairly impressive. It's not the soupiest and gloopiest that I've come across at 6.5%, but the level of haze here is pretty impressive actually. So yeah, we'll say thumbs up to them for that. That is pretty cool. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma of this beer then and just see how we get on. I'm very, very curious about this one. Right, okay. It actually comes across, it's got quite a bit of malty presence to it actually. I get quite a bit of, I can smell quite a bit of a sort of almost dry, oaty character out of this one. There's a bit of wheat in the background there as well, a bit of a kind of thicker wheat, to be honest with you. So that's really interesting, I have to say. Yeah, it's almost a little bit like a dusty wheat, a dusty oat that comes out of this one. It's in the malty side of this beer, I think, is really interesting. but of course it's got a nice fruitiness to it as well. It doesn't come across as particularly bitter in the aroma, but yeah, that's definitely a very quirky aroma, I have to say, from Brewski. So yeah, these guys are capable of producing some really very quirky beers, so I'm not overly surprised, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, the aroma out of this beer I think is very, very nice. I do get the impression there is like a very soft, juicy kind of pineapple note in this one, but we'll talk about the fruity side later. So yeah, in terms of the malty side of the beer, then I think you can smell like a soft, kind of almost but slightly crisp white bready character forming the backbone of the beer. If you take the aroma in a little bit more deeply, you do get a nice. You can feel a little bit of that more kind of bitey wheat actually. Yeah, you can really smell a little bit of that sort of bitey, wheaty sort of thing. Yeah, but it's not overly pungent, to be honest with you. And the more that you smell of the beer, the more you smell of the beer, the more you start to get the smooth white breadiness to it. There's a little bit of oaty character to it, but not too much. What does it actually say that it has? Yeah, it says wheat and oats in this one, but I would say that this is more, it almost smells as if it's a little bit more barley malt leaning, to be honest with you. It does have a little bit of that kind of smoother, just, you know, white bready sort of thing. If you take it in more deeply, like I say, you get a bit of the wheaty bitiness, and then when you smell it a bit more and your nose gets used to it, you can pick up a little bit of the oats. But I don't find this beer overly, overly wheaty or overly oaty. It's quite well balanced actually in its malt base. There's maybe a little bit of a kind of biscuity, brown sugary sort of thing in this one, but you don't get sort of too much of that actually. It's just there is a little touch of sweetness in the malt base there, but mainly it's quite a bready and smooth malt base you get out of this one, but just with a wee bit of crispness in there. Could there be a little touch of Pilsner malt in this? But only, it would be very, very little, I have to say. It would be very, very little Pilsner malt. Maybe Pilsner's not right, maybe it's a little bit of Munich malt or something like that. There is just something that comes across in this malt base as having a slight bit of crispness actually as well. But yeah, the malty side of the beer is quite nice. But let's focus on the hoppy side of things. So yeah, this one for me, on the green side of the hops, there's a little touch of earthiness to it, which you're always going to get, but you do have some nice floral aromaticity, and I wouldn't describe the floral aromaticity as being overly bright. It is just, you know, quite nice actually, and you've got a bit of lighter grassiness in there, but really, and this does make me wonder if there's fruit added to it, because there's not too much of a green component. It actually comes across as really, really wet and juicy in some sort of ways, and what always happens when you add fruit into the brew is that some of the green components in the hops are suppressed a little bit. So yeah, that's what you'll always find. Yeah, so you do get a little bit of grassiness out of this one and a wee bit of floral aromaticity, and I'd say the floral aromaticity is the most prominent component of it, but the other things do take a little bit of a back seat. So yeah, the aroma of that is really quite interesting actually. So yeah, I do like how this goes together in that sense. The aroma of this one is very nice. On the fruity side of things, definitely pineapple. I'm pretty sure, I've got a good feeling from this beer that there is actually pineapple in it. So yeah, but behind that you do get a little bit of mango, you get a wee bit of apricot, papaya, you know, these typical soft tropical fruits in there. You know, I feel in a lot of reviews I'm describing the same kind of profile, if you like, quite often. But you know, these tropical fruits are pretty popular. You know, it's a pretty popular flavour profile these days, so it's not surprising. But yeah, as I say, a nice little bit of passion fruit to it, nice little bit of mango, and you've got a wee bit of a papaya type quality in there as well. But yeah, I do certainly like how that goes together in terms of its aroma, and the nice juicy pineapples I think come across really nicely. But we'll be able to tell 100% whether there's pineapple in this beer when we actually taste it. So let's do that now. As I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. That's always half the experience when it comes to craft beer, in my opinion. But let's go for this and see how we get on. So yeah, this one is the Yellow Robot IPA, coming in at 6.5% ABV from Brewski Mikrobryggeri in Helsingborg here in Skåne, and at the very south of Sweden. So let's get stuck into this one. Slanja, skål, cheers. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think there is fruit added to this one, I'll say that. I think there has been. Yeah. This is another very, very nice beer from Brewski. The first question would be, is this the kind of craziest one and the one that really stands out the most that I've had from them? I wouldn't say so, but again, it is really quite nice. It actually comes across quite similar to, in its malty profile, it's almost a little bit similar to the nipple and the no nipple IPAs that we had, yeah, within the last 2 months. I mean, it does, the malty base in this one does strike me as being quite like that, actually. So I think Brewski, it's just interesting to see how their malt bases evolve over time, because it is, you know, craft beer is constantly changing, but I do like this slightly more crisp and slightly, you know, just barley maltish type malt base that these guys are doing at the moment. I think it's very interesting for sure. But yeah, this gets a thumbs up from me. I certainly like this one, so yeah, if you get the chance to have a go at this, you won't be disappointed. I do wonder if this is replacing the Red Robot, because come to think of it, I haven't seen the Red Robot in a little while, so maybe they're replacing the Red Robot with this one, and I guess later on we might get a Blue Robot or something like that, who knows. So yeah, because I don't know exactly how the slotting system, if you like, with Systembolaget works, because Brewski have had beers in Systembolaget that you can get, you know, quite readily in different places for quite a long time, actually. Like in Hansa, you always see quite a few beers from Brewski, and Hansa, of course, is one of the big boutique stores in Malmö. Yeah, certainly this one, I can see this being quite a popular one and being around for a little bit, actually. You know, one of the things I always talk about, the Swedish cult classic IPAs, the Narangi, the Amazing Haze, the GBG Beer Week, and then the Opigårds New Sweden IPA. If Brewski had a regular IPA that they did, they would probably have one that I would consider in that that sort of category as well, actually. But the thing with Brewski was they always, you know, they always kind of produce new stuff. But I guess in fairness, maybe you could say the Mango Fever or the Passion Fever. Probably more likely the Mango Fever, I would think. The Mango Fever was around a bit longer. Maybe you could consider Mango Fever as one of the kind of cult classic Swedish IPAs as well, actually. I think that's maybe something to maybe that's something I do need to think about a little bit. But yeah, these guys are very, very capable in the hazy New England IPA category in my mind. But yeah, this one certainly comes across very nicely. So yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this then. So straight away with this beer, you get that nice, smooth, pale malty base there. That blankets the middle of your tongue. When you go towards the back third of your palate, you can feel the breadiness does just thicken up a little bit, which goes together really quite nicely. But you've got a solid. There is a solid little bit of bitiness there on the back of the palate too, but that just adds a little bit of a depth to the beer. But as you come further forward, the wheat does smoothen out a little bit, but then as you move into that middle third of your palate, it drops off. It does drop off quite a little bit, and then in the middle third of your palate, as I say, it's got quite a... it does have quite a real... There is a bit of crispness, I think, to that malty backbone in the middle of the palate that it has. Could it be a bit of Munich malt or, you know, something like that? Could there be a little tiny touch of a Pilsner malt or something like that? I don't know. But yeah, in the middle of your palate then, in the middle third of your palate, you can feel the oatiness. That comes out a little bit later on. It's quite a smooth, almost slightly dusty oatiness that you get out of this one. You don't really get these kind of Werther's Original brown sugary sort of things that you can sometimes get from the IPAs these days in this one. This is quite a, you know, this is quite a kind of smooth, not, I wouldn't describe it as soft, but it's quite a smooth, almost slightly crisp New England based, this one. This is kind of similar to what you would have got back in 2016 when Amazing Haze and stuff like this was just kind of rearing its head on the scene, if you like. So yeah, this is a bit of a more old school New England IPA base, to be honest with you. So I like this about it for sure. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, I think we've said all we really need to about the malty base in this. I think that describes it quite nicely. But yeah, in the back corners of the palate there is a little bit of earthiness to this one. As you move, pardon me, further forward the beer, you can feel that very quickly becomes a nice kind of floral aromaticity, and there is a bit of depth to the floral aromaticity as well, so yeah. So yeah, there is a little bit of a nice depth to the floral aromaticity in this one, and it's. I want to say, I do wonder if there is a bit of Columbus that's been used as the bittering hop in this. There's just something a bit familiar about this actually. But yeah, it's not too spicy. It's got a nice floral aromaticity to it, like I say, and I really like how that goes together in this one. But yeah, round the very front curve of your palate, you do get a little bit of grassiness there. But going from the feel of this beer, I'm certain that there's pineapple added into this, because what always happens when you add fruit into the beer is that it suppresses a little bit of the green side of the beer, and you can really feel around that front curve of your tongue the beer has that lovely wet juiciness of fruit additions there. So the pineapple sits there on the very front edge of your tongue. On the front third of your palate, of course, as well, you do get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer, and I think that goes together really nicely. So yeah, I like how that goes together in this beer as well. So yeah, pardon me, with this one there, if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you maybe get a tiny little bit of a slightly darker passion fruit, but then as you move further forward, you do start to get a wee bit of a kind of mango-y flavour out of this one. But yeah, this one is quite interesting actually, because I noticed on the side here it doesn't say humle, it doesn't say hops, which is kind of interesting, or at least it doesn't. It says in Italian, it says lupolo e lievito, so, and it says in German Hopfen, but for some reason it doesn't say it in English. So in Swedish, Danish, Norwegian, it just says barley, wheat and oats, and then the same there. But yeah, I'm a bit curious about that, because yeah, it says wheat, it says hops. I was saying, I wondered, does this actually have hops in it? Because you know, in the Berliner Weisses and stuff, they don't. And the fruits in this one come across as really, really soft and juicy, so I was just kind of thinking, right, are there actually hops in this? Would it be possible to brew an IPA like this without hops? But yeah, and it's strange that, because the can, as I say, it says in some languages just barley malt, wheat malt and oats, but then in the other ones it does have, does say hops. So that's an interesting point. I do think this is probably a little bit of, you know, Victoria's Secret or Simcoe, most likely, that would be in this one. I think there's something that tells me it's Simcoe that's in here. But yeah, you do get, as I say, you get a little bit of that kind of passion fruit, you know, at the back of that front third of your tongue, softer mango coming forward, and then you start to get a few of these, you know, papaya, apricot, very soft tropical flavours, and then on the front edge of your tongue, like you say, you've got that nice pineapple-y note to it, which I think goes together really quite nicely. It's a very popular flavour profile for a beer, but Brewski, you know, they know what they're doing, so they're going to give you a good beer when it comes to this. So thumbs up to them, and I really like this one, I have to say. But yeah, solid stuff once again. So yeah, I think that kind of rounds off the flavour profile of this beer quite nicely, to be honest. Quite a crisp, smooth, and then just juicy IPA, this one. Very easy to drink, for sure. Very, very easy to drink. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, then I would describe this beer as being kind of bottom end to mid-bodied, to be honest with you. It kind of comes across like that. The carbonation does have a wee bit of crispness to it, but overall the beer is quite smooth. There's a nice little bit of juicy fruity character to this one. Like I said, in terms of IBUs, I think this beer probably has about 20-25 IBUs, something like that. You do get a wee bit of bitterness on the side of your palate, in fairness, but that isn't going to blow the head off you, to be honest. Smooth malt base, like I said, not really any sweetness to it. Then you've got some lovely juicy fruity characters coming off the beer as well. So I really like how this one goes together, actually, so it gets a big thumbs up from me. Let's leave it at that for this one. I just think this is a really solid New England IPA. It's almost like a little baby version, if you like, of the Fever series that Brewski used to do. If I remember right, the Fevers were like 8% double IPAs, whereas this is like a 6.5%, or so this one, it almost reminds me a little bit of Pango Fever, maybe. I think Pango Fever was maybe a bit less in alcohol. So this is like a more kind of old school Brewski IPA, and if you've been drinking these beers from around 2015, 2016 when I first encountered them, you'll know what I mean. This definitely strikes me as one of their slightly more old school type beers. So this is quite nice actually. This is a little bit of nostalgia, I think, from Brewski, so it'd be nice if this beer does stick around for a little while. I think this one is really nicely done. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this. This one was the Yellow Robot IPA, 6.5% ABV, New England Hazy IPA with a bit of pineapple added into the brew, and it turned out very, very nicely. So let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brewski Mikrobryggeri as well. We will return to these guys very soon. We do have one more beer to review from them this month. When that'll appear exactly, I'm not sure. But yeah, that is one that I am looking forward to, I have to say. So yeah, thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, but most importantly, check out Brewski Mikrobryggeri and have a go at a couple of their beers. The Fever series is excellent. The Pie and the Cake series are both very interesting as well. Pick something that you like, and you are pretty much guaranteed to get a good beer from Brewski. But yeah, these guys from Helsingborg, Skåne in the south of Sweden. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, skål, cheers, see you very soon.